There's a lot of posts going around about abusers and stealing money and all kinds of other stuff in the Ammon Hillman group. Some would say it's a cult. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about why that's important. A lot of times in these discussions, it's just hey, this person said this. That's why you shouldn't like them. And it is important to talk about these things, but in the right context, in a way that it's helpful, productive. So we're going to do that today. If you find or know more information about what we're talking about, feel free to share it in the comments. I would like to learn more, and that way we can all be aware and protect ourselves for bad things happening. So we're going to talk about the specific details of a few of these different cases, at least three where we can know with high confidence of people going to jail, criminal investigations, stuff like that, and other things that are maybe under the radar that you should know about. First of all, let's talk about why that's important. We're not just gossiping. It is important for people in the Ammonite group, the Ammon Hillman's group, as well as even if you're just online or on Discord, that you know that there's multiple individuals that we know of with high confidence, not just people that maybe left the group or maybe that are just randomly messaging here and there that you'll never meet in person, you'll never talk to them. No, we know high people that are very high up in the totem pole that you'll see on the videos, you'll see in the discussion boards, that have histories of abuse, child abuse, criminal behavior, instability. Seems like there's lots of drug activity, deception, and these histories directly affect the safety, the vulnerability, manipulation risk of everyone inside the group. So, someone with a documented pattern of history of harming vulnerable dependents is at risk of harming other vulnerable adults or minors or emotionally unstable people. So, in other words, just because you did something 10 years ago that might be seen as a bad thing, say you didn't take care of your children, that you might say that hey, that's fine, as that happened 10 years ago, but that dramatically raises the chances that person has a high chance of harming somebody else that may not be a kid. You might not be a kid online, but you might be in what the psychologist would say is a vulnerable state, an unstable person, and there could be a number of reasons for that. But we want to protect ourselves. We want to be extra careful. We don't want to put ourselves at risk for no reason. Additionally, you have um, groups specifically like the Ammonite group that seem to attract the vulnerable people. So it seems like there is a higher percentage chance of people that are, I don't know, with these pasts or like, for example, Neil talks about how there seems to be, and you can't prove this with certainty, but there seems to be uh, some people that if you want to harm kids, it would make a lot of sense to follow Ammon, because Ammon promotes ideas that, hey, Jesus went and harmed kids, so that's okay for me if Jesus did it. So that you can easily see how that would happen. But there's also a lot of unstable people in these groups. I'm not saying that anybody that you're listening to that you're directly unstable or vulnerable. I'm just saying that there are people like that out there. So just need to be careful. We and not only that, but some of these people, they may escalate conflict. They might be manipulative. They might cause harm. There's also a chance that they're going to fabricate or distort their own criminal history. So if somebody says, hey, you did this, and the other person says, no, I didn't do that, there's a higher chance that they're going to be lying about it. They might distort what people say is group dynamics, and escalate conflict, and manipulate narratives. So in other words, people who normalize harmful behavior often enable it inside the group. So that means that if there is harm, that there's a higher chance that it becomes ignored, because guess what? if you don't see it's a problem, you're not going to stand up for that. You're not going to fight back, and that's a really big problem. So hello, Ashton. As you might have guessed, you might be mentioned later. So I'll be interested to hear your thoughts. So first of all, the first case study, the first person we're talking about is Anne. And this person is goes by a number of different names. And Henry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Atria Aritra. We'll start by mentioning some things that Neil talked about. Some of this stuff Neil talked about, some of it didn't, and we're going to go over. I'm going to share my thoughts. All right.
I'm about to find out there's been some leakage. There's some high members in the cult, talking about people who are organizing meetups in Dallas, right? Organizing meetups in Dallas, and very, very well respected on the phone with Ammon and Chewy. Well respected in the community, well loved, and it turns out, look at this is what they wrote. Our festival features esteemed scholars, experienced practitioners, insightful guides who are passionate about sharing their knowledge. Dr. Ammon Hillman, Kenneth Wheeler.
Okay, so the whole point of saying this is just, hey, this person named Anne at one point was managing the quote unquote metal band tour, I'm told. I don't know the full details of what else is going to happen, but this is supposedly what they were helping with, where they were going to go around and do whatever. But this person was associated, which means you're going to see that person. That's obviously a big deal if you're seeing somebody that is has a high chance of harmful, being manipulative, etc. So I'll skip that part. Don't need to learn more about Kenneth Wheeler. All right.
What was I going to do? What was I going to show?
Yeah, and Ashley says the Dallas event she was hosting for them all, and I warned them and was ignored and then banned for speaking about it. Yeah, that's one of the big problems with this conversation we're about to talk about in just a second here.
Hello, this is the hello all. I'm going to make a statement regarding this. I was falsely accused. There was no trial, no jury, because the evidence was too weak to convict me. I accepted a nolo plea to allow my children to leave the captivity into which the government placed them. Which, what? So you pled to something you didn't do?
Yeah, that's what a nolo plea is. So nolo plea is when you do not admit guilt, but you won't contest the charge. So a defendant chooses a nolo plea when the prosecution's evidence is overwhelming and a trial would be unwinnable. So it's like, well, I might as well just do this. And the prosecution would be okay with that because they also get something in return. It's easier for them.
What? And then it says, I have every court record that the government would allow me to have. They would not let me see all the so-called evidence they had, that doesn't make any sense. When you go to trial, there's what's called discovery. You can get everything.
Yeah, so I don't think she went to trial.
They had and wouldn't be happy to take anyone through the record who wants to know more. This is them right here. And this is them on Snappy's channel. You see the Hail Satan on the bottom? Hail Satan! Oh, God. This is who you attract. This is who you have on. This is why Zeus and Ganymede. Zeus has to have his Ganymede. Zeus has to have his Ganymede. It's the mystery. Zeus has to have his Ganymede. Yeah, that's who you attract. Look who you attracted on your channel. So Ammon says, there'll be no more Dallas meeting.
Okay, so apparently Ash told the group that this person did this stuff, and Ammon found out, and he's like, oh, there will be no Dallas meeting. Do not pay for tickets. I'll explain why on LB, which is Lady Babylon, the channel, thanks to my new head of security, Ash. So I guess he's calling you the new security. That's pretty cool, Ash, I guess.
Do not pay for tickets. Thanks, Ashley. Well, too late now. Ashley's out of here. You know, playing it off. And I have some comments on this whole playing it off thing, right? And they're all like, hell, Ashley, for finding out. Nice catch. Well, this is the weirdest response ever. We don't play with people who abuse kids. Not now, not never. Except for when you did it, when you were at St. Mary's. You played with yourself and the other.
Oh, that's interesting. So he says that he was going to explain why they canceled it, but he never did. That's fascinating.
Other kids on campus who you abused sexually and assaulted, and you got fired for it. You are now head of security. Next workshop, we should talk. You probably just saved someone's life. This is the weird part. Well, get this. You just probably saved someone's life. Maybe mine? Maybe Ken Wheeler? Hey, someone contact Ken Wheeler and tell him the.
Well, so apparently Ammon knows the seriousness of it, which is interesting. Because a lot of people might have said, "Hey, who cares?"
Mail on Texas. Send him the article. We should have him on Lady Babylon. Wait a minute. You probably saved. What about the kids' lives that you could have saved who could have been? I don't know. I'm just saying. Out of all the people whose lives were saved here, Ken and Ammon are the one on the top two.
So maybe this is a bit narcissistic of Ammon, but I could also see a situation where he's like, well, everybody's, I don't know, concerned about me and Ken. So, or not, maybe not that, but you know, if Ammon is extremely important to everybody, which he is, according to this, you know, this group sees him as very important, then it makes sense why, you know, he would be saying, hey, I could have lost my life, so I really appreciate that. Even Ken might have lost his life if you didn't bring this up, so that's really appreciated.
That's the first thing he thinks about. Myself and my high guest.
That doesn't surprise me at all that they would almost let Anne stay.
Because he don't fuck with these people in these discords. He's not talking to these people that much. No, there's no way. He's just it's his army. He needs them to be his army, to go find sources that support. Go and fight for me. Go and find fake sources for me. Or go and find sources that look similar to what I'm saying and put them out there so that people think I'm right. That's all you're good for. So then he emails her and says, tell Neil he was too stupid to make it through Greek. You are disgusting. That's what he.
All right, so I don't know any background context of this, but it seems like Ammon is talking to Ashley and is basically saying, "Hey, you're disgusting for doing all this, for saying this about this person, and also, side note, tell Neil he's stupid, because apparently if you say anything about the bad about the Ammonites, it must mean that you're talking with Neil." And of course they say, I don't talk to Neil. You have a bunch of child abusers in your group. All I said about Neil was he told me to watch out for them, and I stood up for them and didn't listen. So in other words, Neil said watch out, which is a rightful good thing to say.
He says behind the scenes. In the front of the scenes, in the exoteric world, he's like, good catch, Ashley. Good job. Yeah, you're the new head of security. Behind the scenes, you are disgusting. You are disgusting for what you're doing. You're tearing us apart. And by the way, I didn't even talk to Ashley till today. This is absolutely correct. I didn't talk to Ashley till today, till right before this stream. You have a bunch of child abusers in your group. All I said was about Neil was he told me to watch out for them, and I stood up for them and didn't listen. What the fuck? That's crazy. And by the way, he has to throw in this bullshit lie about me not being too stupid to make it through Greek when this is what's so crazy about Ammon. I think he's an atheist. I don't think he believes in anything he says. He's an atheist because nobody would just flat out lie this much in a Machiavellian sense. Because
I'm not terribly convinced. I think he's probably lied a few times, but I don't know if he lies about all this. I think that him randomly throwing Neil under the bus, clearly he felt hurt in some way. So I don't think you would just randomly lie about, you know, all of this, but also saying something like this about just randomly insulting me, for a degree.
Because he knows what actually happened, and everyone knows what actually happened. Everyone knows that I stopped taking Greek courses from him because he was doing 10-person classes only. Not because I couldn't make it through. He wanted me to start over and start with 10 people in a class and pay the same amount of money.
I think this is the funniest part, is that Neil's reason for stopping getting Greek is like completely a great idea, almost obvious looking outside, looking in. But some people would still use it as an insult toward Neil. It's kind of funny to me.
50 people in the class. I've been doing, to be honest, lying about something. The article says, acupuncturist who gave birth to triplets at age 49 after struggling to get pregnant is arrested for beating all 3 infants, leaving them with broken bones, bruised faces, and brain damage. This is the leading Ammonite right here. This is the organizer of the Ammonite festivals right here. This is who is attracted by Ammon Hillman's content. This is who's attracted to this.
Oh, God.
This is who, I hear.
Oh, God.
You know that Jesus was using children. He was extracting drugs from their bodies, getting high off of it. And what do you know? Who ends up showing up on your doorstep? An acupuncturist who beat their children. It ends up in the back rooms of your cult. Is anyone surprised about that at all? I'm not. No one should be. No one should be. And there's probably way worse shit going on. Probably way worse fucking people in these groups too. Way worse. The people who are attracted to that message, there's something wrong. There's something seriously, deeply wrong. Something seriously, deeply wrong. Something.
Yeah. I would say something real quick is that anybody mentioned in this, whether you're Anne or Hannah or Madalena or whoever else that is going to be mentioned later, we all do things that we regret. We all do things we regret. We all do things that we don't like, that we're not happy about. It's never a good feeling to realize we messed up, and maybe you don't even feel like you messed up. And if you don't, well, that's something maybe to think about. But either way, as someone that is in a program, master's program, to become a counselor, a therapist, I know it gets a bad rap, but I would say for everybody, I'd say even for my friend Neil, anybody in the chat right now, I could almost guarantee you that counseling therapy is going to be beneficial in some way. That doesn't mean every experience you have with a counselor is going to be good, but I would just highly recommend it. I have a counselor myself. But I'm not like some, messed up, traumatized person or something like that. I had a relatively good family growing up. But even I have some anxiety, stress, depression, and that's just normal. So we all need help with our mental health. So don't take this video as just an attack, as a way of shaming or saying that we all are, you're the only one that has a problem. But what I'm saying is that it's okay to need help, and Neil is right that if you are in the Ammon group, that some of you probably do need some mental health support, and that's okay. That's okay. You don't want to go to Ammon in search of something that isn't actually going to solve your problems and might make things worse. So that's just something to think about if you are watching.
Going on deep down that makes you follow follow this all the way to its conclusion and think that he's not bullshitting you or that he's being good faith in this as an academic endeavor. Something seriously wrong with this. A Lehigh Valley woman has been charged with battering her infant triplets. I'm a twin, dude, so I hear this. This is horrifying. Lehigh County prosecutors when they wait a minute, puts before you're going to say it's more like Ammon does. This guy right here.
Okay. So I wanted to actually talk about the article. Okay, here it is. All right, so we have Anne Cavalt Henry. So 12 felony counts of aggravated assault, 1 count of child endangerment, bruised head injuries. Triplets were 8 weeks old. Allegedly told caregiver that she was contemplating suicide and wanted to throw a baby through a plate glass window. That's crazy. That is wild. This is, she gave birth to him in 2016. So this is shortly after 2016. This is quite a while ago. And so this is from the witness of a doula or multiple of them, 3 separate occasions where the triplets were born, described the home as dirty and smelled of cat waste, called the mother a train wreck who presented symptoms of postpartum depression. Injured triplets in 2016 when they were just 8 weeks old, leaving one with a broken wrist, fractured ribs, third subdural hemorrhage, result of abusive head trauma. Infants were placed in foster care. Henry was only allowed supervised visits for a year before she was allowed weekend visits this past summer. And then it happened again and head trauma in July. So, yes, that's very sad. That person might even say that they regret doing that. But it's just important to know because, as I said before, it's important to know who you're surrounding yourself with, the potential harm of that, potential abuse that could come of it. So we have, and so this is that same person that said before that she did the no low plea, and apparently Hannah has been removed from the Discord. So in other words, Ammon found out and they removed her, even though sadly it wasn't quickly. In other words, as Asha says earlier in one of the comments, is that it was not immediate. So that's another thing, is that it might not be something where you might have some people that not see it as not a big deal at all, but so those people might eventually realize, oh, okay, we should probably do something about this. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen immediate, and harm could be done before they're even people will realize it, before it's known to everybody. And Ashley says they are now threatening to make false reports on me, and all shun me and went crazy gaslighting me, lying, and I have nothing to hide and just told the truth. Yeah, so that's another big problem there, is that I hear a lot in this group, is that if you say anything bad about the group, then you're immediately the enemy. If you try to critique Ammon in any single way, you're the enemy. There is a big problem with that. And if you say anything, then you're shunned. You lose all of your friendship, and that's really harmful for a lot of people, especially when you went to that group because you thought that they would give you happiness or peace or something, but it was the only thing you really had, the only option you had with what you felt, at least. And then you get there and then they shun you, and all for doing something that's right. And that's really not good. That's really, really bad for the people that are trying to protect the group, to prevent harm from happening. Someone like Ashes, for them to shun her later. That's not good. And I'm not saying Ashes is perfect. I don't know her as a person. I don't think anybody's perfect in this scenario. I'm not perfect. Neil's not perfect. But and so maybe it wasn't handled perfectly. At the same time, it's typically a good idea to try and protect and listen to people that are trying to prevent harm. So that is that. And let's see what we got here next. So the next one we're going to talk about is Hannah B 666. All right, so let's dig into that. All right. So this is just to show that this person had a lot of association with the Ammonite group.
Nice to see you, Hannah. Great poetry. Hannah B 666. I love that. Nice to see you, Hannah. Great poetry. Oh, that's Hannah. Hey, Hannah. I know that Hannah. Hey, B, you bring a lot of commentary, Hannah B, over the millennia that we've been together. I appreciate that. Fantastic. Yes, hello. Was Hannah here today? Hannah, I want you to email Chewy, and Chewy will email you a key. And next time, which will be Friday at the same time, we'll have you at the end at the. Yes, hello. Over the.
I don't know why I was muted there. But I was saying that this is a really interesting story. I lost my link, so we're going to try and find that. Woman charged with... oops. Still working on this, guys. My computer decided to be a little slow today. After 3 children test positive for cocaine. All right. What article is that? Sorry, friends. WSFA. Okay. Montgomery. There you go. Okay. All right. So this is another person that is actually, it's my understanding, still active in the group. I've actually seen recent comments of her. So this person, a Montgomery woman facing charges after 3 children in her care tested positive for drugs, according to Montgomery police. This is 2018, so still quite a while ago. She was 29 at the time. And Department of Human Resources contacted police about possible drug activity. They tested the kids, and the youngest child, toddler, tested positive for amphetamine and meth. And they took her to custody. That was not the article I was looking for. This is the article that I'm looking for. See if they let me read it. Oh gosh, that's dumb. That's really dumb. Okay, whatever. We don't have to look at it completely. So you can check out the article. I show you the link. Basically, what happened was she yeah, so basically what happened is she had kids of 3 different ages. It was let's see, was it 11? See if I can find it on here. Someone can help me out in the comments. Why? Whatever. It was like 11, 8, and 1 or something like that. I'll put it in the comments later. What? Actually, it's going to bug me. So let's do this. No, I'm not. Let's see. I'm going to do this. Yes, 10, 8, and 1. I appreciate that, Ashes. So 10, 8, and 1. And basically, the article says, they tested positive for meth. So for those that don't know, or tested positive for, maybe it wasn't meth specifically. I'm sorry. I'm just for cocaine. All right. So why that is important is, so it seems like she, you might hear that and you might be like, oh, well, she gave meth to, or cocaine to her kids. Not exactly. So there's different ways that you can get cocaine in your system. So like if you put cocaine on a credit card, which people often do, and you like the actual cocaine can still be on the credit card, little pieces, little particles of it, even though you might actually use most of it. And then a kid can come along and take their credit card, and then maybe, like, wipe their eyes with their finger that they just touched the credit card. You can, if you're making food, you've got little particles on your hands, and you put it on the food, and you give it to somebody. There's all kinds of different ways. The point being is that this is a problem because, of course, giving any amount of cocaine to children is not a good idea. Additionally, it puts them in a really difficult environment where, if you are using cocaine, you're probably not doing a great job taking care of them. It's troubling. It's not like she murdered somebody or something like that. And there is some good news with the story, as far as I have pictures. Let me see if I can find them. It's not the absolute end of the world, because she commented later, and she said that this was in one of the YouTube comment sections that I read, is that she was saying that she is doing a lot better now. She got her kids back, and that she said herself that it was, she said herself that you can get cocaine through the heating and air vents. So, it could get anywhere in the air. Who knows how that actually happened. I don't know if that's, it's probably not as likely that it would just get into the air like that, but yeah, something along the lines. So I don't consider her like a horrible person or something like that because of that, but it's certainly something to pay attention to. And this is someone that's actively in the group. So yeah, be careful there. Let's see here if there's anything else worth mentioning. No, we're good with that one. That one, I'd say not as bad, but still not a good idea there. So the next person there is Madalena, which is, I was surprised. The background of her. So we're going to talk about her brother, and then we're also going to talk about herself. And Ash, just feel free to clarify, because I'm told at least that you know Madalena personally. So Madalena, if you've watched other videos, she actually had a conversation with Neil. You could check out my responses to that. And she put up a very questionable debate tactic, which was to claim something, and then Neil would respond, and then she would say absolutely nothing else, and then go on to the next topic. Not the most convincing thing. I personally would say, okay, Neil, you got me on that one. That's important to think about, and maybe change my mind on a few things. It doesn't appear that that's happened. There's been a lot of other drama after that, though. But we'll talk about her brother first, because people are talking about her brother a lot. So that would be Neil. Neil mentioned that, actually. So first of all, I wanted to show the actual court proceeding that talks about it. You can check out Neil's video on that, but realistically, you can just watch this for the good summary of it.
I do. This is Detective Duke, Your Honor. On December 5th of this year, the Human Trafficking Task Force conducted a prostitution operation here in Ashland at a local motel, which included the officers creating online ads offering sexual services in exchange for money. Mr. Shilladay responded to one of those and agreed to be an undercover officer at the hotel for sex acts. Specifically, he explained that he had come to meet a female for the purpose of engaging in oral sex and intended to pay $80 for those services. Said that he had hired numerous prostitutes in the past. Specifically, he's paid for sexual activity 55 times. Did sign a consent form for officers to search his phone.
Okay. So at least in this case.
Okay, so this is the weirdest video I've ever seen as far as a case proceeding. Maybe is on the level of like Amber Heard, Johnny Depp. I don't know. But you can check that if you want. Really weird. But yep, so this is Madalena's, supposedly it's like her stepbrother or something, or like a adopted brother, who knows. But basically, there was a police sting where they set up an online ad, and the cops, seems like there's a problem with that from a legal perspective, but that's what happened. And her brother pressed on it and met up with one of the supposed prostitutes, and then apparently he told them that he met up with like 50 or so prostitutes. That's pretty crazy. The actual Facebook post says it was called human trafficking. Actually says it is classified as human trafficking because selling a vulnerable person is trafficking. They could have a pimp or something. So yes, but that doesn't mean that he specifically engaged in human trafficking under that definition. Maybe he participated in someone being human trafficked, but like he didn't actually do the trafficking. So that's probably something worth clearing up. Madalena responded to this. She actually responded to this video, which is interesting. So we'll play that real quick. It wasn't a video, it was actually a comment. So you can see on the screen right here, she says, "This is my little brother. Public shaming of an individual who is simply eccentric, lonely, and possesses natural human desires is deplorable." So yeah, she thinks that apparently making a Facebook post showing the proceeding is shaming. I would probably disagree with that. It doesn't seem like there's any comments in the description or the title that say, "Oh, this guy was a bad person for doing that," or something like that. I didn't get the feel of that at all. But she kind of frames it as like, "Oh, this person's just lonely and has natural desires." But that might be true, but that doesn't mean we should engage in illegal activity. And not that you should be shamed for it, but I would say that that is a big problem if you see prostitution as just simply an eccentric person, lonely, possessing natural human desires. It's not just that. There's more to it than that. And she says prostitution isn't human trafficking. That is, I guess it depends what you mean by prostitution. I don't know what the legal definitions are. As we talked about before, it's classified as human trafficking because selling a vulnerable person is trafficking. They could have a pimp or anything. So whatever, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. It's just kind of definitions, but as long as you know what he actually did, that's what's most important. The misclassification of this issue is human trafficking is misguided. So I don't know. So why is it a problem to let me ask you, let's do this. Why is it harmful to go to a prostitute? Okay, I'm literally looking this up on AI. I could summarize it relatively good, but I don't know off the top of my head. So a couple of things worth mentioning. She talks about why it seems like she's saying that prostitution isn't that bad, but it is worth talking about that. So most women in prostitution report using disassociation, where they mentally detach from their own bodies to endure unwanted sexual contact. So this is associated with trauma, depression, emotional numbing. So it's not neutral. It requires that person shut down parts of herself. And even when she quote unquote chooses it, doesn't always mean it's true, because she might feel like she has absolutely no choice to its poverty or debt or a lack of employment options. Now, I'm not saying that every single instance of prostitution is like this, but what I'm saying is you can't just simply assume that every prostitute is just having no problem at all. So prostitution carries high rates of assault, rape, strangulation, STIs. So there's a lot of risks with that. So when you participate in that, you are you're creating a demand for it that will encourage that person to stay in that lifestyle. Women often experienced stigma, lack of family support, long-term trust issues based off of it. And then there's also the idea of a pimp and the problems with that. Um, as I said before, she might say yes, but she might only be saying yes in that regards because she feels like she has no choice because she has to pay rent or pay bills, or maybe she has an addiction or something like that. So it's not simply, hey, we are performing sex together. It's not that simple. So Ashley said, I used to hang around strippers and prostitutes and it's trafficking. So yeah, I think that there's probably a lot of people that realize that, hey, this is probably not good for me, but they get something out of it. It doesn't mean that everybody like that. We don't want to shame them, but it's still worth talking about there. Okay, so let's talk about more about Madalena. So I did want to comment real quick there from her brother. So I saw someone said that he was in charge of prostitution. That's not correct. He apparently participates. He goes and sees prostitutes, but that's different from actually like being a pimp himself. And also, this doesn't mean that Madalena is a bad person. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right. She has no control over what she did, or what he did, I should say. So just because her brother goes through a lot of problems doesn't have really any tale of her. It doesn't say anything about her, whether she's a good or a bad person or not. But what it does say is that when she comments and she kind of doesn't address the actual problem, makes it seem like it's not a problem to be engaging in prostitution. I get the hint of maybe even enabling with that is because she's not being open about that, and that could maybe communicate to him that, hey, she sees it as okay, and therefore maybe I think it's okay. So in other words, I don't see a problem with her just because he did that, but I do see a problem with her saying that kind of stuff. That's not correct, and that's not good. Additionally, so Ashes, you can comment on this if you want, but I was told, I'll edit this out if I am incorrect. I was told that it was you or somebody else saw Maddie screaming at a kid that wasn't hers. And she also left her toddler unattended at a pool once, no, twice actually. And supposedly, she also helped to get donations for Ashes, as we see in the chat here, and took some of the money. So we can actually see comments about that on right here. Yeah, so Ashes says, or no, this is not Ashes. This is actually Madalena herself says, this is my best friend, everybody. Maybe you should tell everyone you stole hundreds of dollars from Lady Babylon's congregation to leave your husband. And, oh, here's more. My brother is addicted to prostitutes. None of my business. I mean, I would be completely honest with you. I think it's definitely your business if your own brother is seeing prostitutes. I think that you have a responsibility to do everything you can to help him out through that. I mean, that's not healthy. There, if he is doing that, then that is a significant reason to think that he has some type of mental health issues going on, and he's using prostitutes as a way to cope with that. So that could be really a good opportunity for you to help him through that, and not just say, hey, none of my business. She says it was a misdemeanor. He didn't hurt anyone. As I said, that's not true. And then she says anyone who pays someone for sexual acts in our state is considered a sex trafficker. Okay, so that is that one. Continuing that conversation, Ashes says, this is my best friend ever. Oh, no, I already read that one. Oh, sorry, messed that up here. We're going to go back. We're going back, and okay, let's see if I got that right. Okay. Ashes says, I have the, so the Madalena is like, hey, tell everybody about the stealing. And then Ashes says, I have the receipts if you want me to tell, and proof of witnesses saying you asked for that behind my back. she says, it was less than $300 and I didn't ask for it. You did. And you took some of it. And yeah. So I'm not going to approve of all this other stuff going on, all the conversation and insults or whatever. I haven't fully read all of this. Maybe not the best way to handle things, but at the same time, it does seem like there was a bit of an altercation with that. Supposedly, Madalena asked everybody for money to help out Ashes, and then guess what? Apparently Madalena took some of the money herself. So that is an obvious red flag there. Why is that a red flag? Because guess what? A lot of times in these groups, if you care about other people, naturally what's going to happen is some people's going to have a hard time. And then someone might say, hey, we should give money to help them. But if Madalena is the one doing it, let's just say I would feel very hesitant, even if, say, Ashes is completely lying. I don't think that's what happened, and I've heard multiple people say otherwise. But say if that's what happened, and that Ashes is completely lying about this, Madalena was right. That I even if that's the case, I would still be very hesitant just because of this altercation here. All right. And about the whole pool thing, Ashes confirms and says, yes, I did. Yes, at my house. And then Ashes says she took donations when I did not ask and took some of the money. Then he had to go to rehab twice. I have receipts. That's not good to hear. Well, I hate that all that happened to you. And then she lied to everyone to save face. Well, of course, that makes sense. But I hate that this thing has gone to this point. That's really sad. All right. So let's see here. There's so much to talk about here. Okay, we don't need to go through that. We don't need to go through that anymore. All right. So the next thing is, here's a fun one. Madalena created a report, basically a complaint to the police. So here is the thing. We'll zoom on in a second, but we'll start out with this right here. Ashes says, I had her in my home. I spent time with her in person, which I never met her. She betrayed, lied. She lied on Neil and filed a false police report against him. So I'm not sure what you meant by false there, Ashes, because as we'll read, I don't know if anything was false necessarily, but this is what Madalena says herself in a little post. She says, after much deliberation, I decided to make this video explaining faith, yada, yada, yada. In the caption, I explained that this will be the last time I mention Neil, and I expect and hope he will respectively do the same. Making the police report is not only about defending myself and my safety when dealing with delusional, unstable men. So apparently she thinks Neil is delusional and unstable. I have not seen that at all, actually. But also for the responsibility I feel for all of us who have been disrespected and abused verbally by him. Now, I'll be honest, Neil does insult people. LM or whoever that was. There were lots of insults thrown in that video. Some people might even say it's verbal abuse. We can talk about definitions at the same time. So obviously not a fan of that. I don't think that's helpful. I will be very vocal about that. At the same time, I do consider Neil my friend, and I do consider him nice most of the time, and generally has a good idea of the text. So I do appreciate that about him. He's serious about that. So let's actually read the report. This is a really interesting thing. Because it seems like she was actually very honest, at least from what I'm reading here. She says, and it's blurred out because for privacy's sake, but it says someone talking about, I'm sure that's probably Neil, is part of the YouTube group that studies an ancient language. The group has a teacher who has issues with, okay, so maybe the first block was Madalena, but the group has issues with Neil, a prior student. Neil reached out blank, since she is a current, so to Madalena, since she's a current student for a YouTube interview where it ended up being Neil was extremely rude with her and aggressive. I mean, maybe like a little bit, but overall, I'd say it was relatively. I mean, there were certainly okay, maybe yeah. So, so he told me actually that he um, actually expected it to be like a really nice conversation. That's what he planned on, and then she mentioned the thing about him like making money, and Ammon's like really against that, and which I think is a little silly. I understand why you would think that someone making money could maybe make them biased, which is true, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as Ammon says. So like, there's reason, like it's valid to think that, but not as much as Ammon thinks, I think. But anyways, but Neil was like, yeah, so I was planning to have a nice little conversation, but then she said that, and that just kind of like ticked him off. But anyways, so sorry in advance, Neil, if I said that I wasn't supposed to share that. But anyways, so yeah, Neil was rude at some points, I would say, probably aggressive, more aggressive than he needed to be. But at the same time, I don't think he like extremely rude and aggressive. I don't know if that's correct. But anyway, so she said the last communications with him was May 7th through email. So this was made at, I can't tell, is it 5:30 or 6:30? I'm pretty confident it's 6:30. Yeah, it looks like that under the bottom left there's 6:30. But she said the last communication was May 7th. So that's about a month or two until the last week. He posted another YouTube video about the interview he had with her. She wanted this documented in case anything happens or escalates. So, so I mean, so apparently he made a video about her and she wanted to document that he made a video about her. I wouldn't consider that a false report. I would just consider that weird. I don't know. That's odd. So let's see here. See if there's any comments worth talking about. Okay. Apparently, Madalena wrote Neil, and he didn't answer back. She even tried to mail him a book to get his address. Neil showed all the emails. Oh, interesting. To try to get his address. That's I mean, I doubt she probably said that like specifically, like, yeah, I'm trying to get your address, but that wouldn't surprise me at all. Yes, he can definitely sue her. That's probably not what Neil would want to do, though. He's not like, cruel like that or anything. But yeah, I had the same question. Let's see. Okay, and then she lied and said he sent her pictures of where she lived, but he didn't. Said he was dangerous to her, but he wasn't bothering her. He quit messaging her. She asked to go on his show, and we warned her. Yes, so I did hear that, actually. I think Neil told me about that, about the pictures. I don't see that in the police report. Maybe you can clarify, but yeah, at least, and Neil actually told me himself that the police report, they were honest, that she was honest, but not honest to the Ammonite group. Let's see. Yeah, she lied and tried to make it like Neil was stalking. She accused several men of stalking her, to me, at least 5. Wow. Okay, maybe that's fascinating. All right, and what else we have here? Yep. Asters, is there a way that people can contact you if they want to? Maybe you can leave that in the comments or something about receipts. But let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Okay. All right. So that is with Madalena. So odd behavior. Once again, I would just say, hey, if you're part of the Ammonite group, try not to be on her bad side. Be extra careful. if she says something that's maybe a little on the crazy side, maybe don't insult her. Try to be nice. You can even put your little response in AI. Say, hey, make it real nice for me. That way you don't offend her. You probably should do that anyways. But for everybody. All right. So that is that. That is Madalena. A lot of odd stuff for that. And here's another one. Now, this is more on the speculation side of things. So we saw in a previous video that the person Snappy seems to have gone through some type of cult ritual of some kind. Now, I do feel bad a little bit for some of the stuff that happened, but I have seen this comment. This apparently is Snappy's ex. Apparently his name is Darren. This is mere just hearsay. If someone can show me a good reason to think this is wrong, feel free to let me know, and I'll take this out. But this is supposedly Snappy's ex of some kind. No Snappy personally, and this person says, "Turns out you were right about Darren Snappy. He's a groomer and a pedophile." So, that's not a lot of evidence at all. I'm just saying that to put it out there because, hey, maybe that's something to be careful about if you surround yourself with him. It's probably a good idea in general not to bring your kids around people in this group, just out of the chances that one of them is a problem. So yeah, that's rough. I should probably mention Neil as well. So Neil has talked about this vocally. I think when he was under 21, he did have some legal issues related to drugs, and I'm not saying that he definitely did some things that he shouldn't have ethically. At the same time, that was quite a while ago, and no, I'm not gonna bring my kids around Neil or something like that. Not that I think he's doing wrong. He was it was associated with drugs. It's not like he was hurting, like beating people or something like that. But I do know Neil personally now. I have not met him, but he, at least from what I've known in person, is that he doesn't seem like somebody that would be very abusive or hurt somebody unknowingly or knowingly, at least. Maybe you can accidentally do something, but yeah. So I'm not saying that Neil's the best person, but I do consider him a friend and somewhat relatively trustworthy, especially for a layman as far as scholarship goes. Yeah, so somebody says, Neil is cool. He turned his life around. I was in gangs and did drugs. Now I'm a Gnostic Christian bishop. Hey, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you can turn your life around. Everybody can turn your life around, no matter what you do. So I'm not anything I'm saying here is not to say that, oh, you're a bad person or something like that. Just to be careful with these types of people. Yes, so that's Snappy, a little speculative. Neil, yes, probably did some things that he shouldn't have done. Yeah, that's worth mentioning, but it does seem like he's turned another leaf. I can't say that with certainty. I've never met him, but still at the same time, I will mention it just out of being fair. Okay, so the next thing is Ammon. So this is the big reveal, right? Everybody know. Well, if you're a fan of this channel, you probably already know this. I've done previous videos on Ammon and his problems, why he got fired, and how he actually lied about getting fired from his college. We're gonna just really quickly look at that. You can check out the full video where I go through all the court documents with that. So let's see here. Okay. So let's just play that really quick because, hey, I mean, if you're going to talk about the people in the group, it'd be, of course, we should talk about Ammon because he's the leader. He has actual control over these people, and many of them. it will essentially do whatever he wants. A lot of sad, crazy stuff going on. But Ammon, he has his own past that we should talk about. It's important to know about. So we're going to talk about that and see what it says real quick.
In fact, sexually harass students and commit misconduct. Hillman admitted in writing that he stalked a St. Mary's student, scaring her. Hillman admitted in writing during an investigative interview that he twice went into a student's dorm room. Hillman sent emails to a St. Mary's student asking about sexual injury. There is simply no credible basis for Hillman now to claim that he did not commit misconduct and did not sexually harass students. Therefore, truth is a complete defense to Hillman's claims against St. Mary's. I've already showed this, but I'm just going to remind people again what.
Okay. So just real quick there, Ashes makes a good point. So Chewie is his daughter, and while Chewie was a teenager, Ammon let her help with the group with pictures, editing, and the Discord, if I'm understanding correctly. And Ashes correctly mentioned that, yes, so she was a teen when Ammon started. And she's saying that, yeah, if she would have known that, then that she would never have been. And the reason why that's important is because not only did she help with editing with very mature or like probably things she shouldn't have been exposed to early on, but also other people in the group shared X-rated images that are probably not good for her to be seen with at such a young age, and most likely her brain still developing, not being considered a legal adult. So that is putting her in a very bad situation. Not only that, but being surrounded by all of these people. From like, not her fault, because as I said before, she's just a teenager, but really bad on him to not protect his kid like that.
Why is there people being kicked out of Ammon's cult for people digging up their past and they're abusing their children? I wonder why people are attracted to Ammon Hillman. I wonder why. I wonder what type of people are really into this shit. I wonder who it is. The greatest people in the world, the highest levels of society are all coming together. All the greatest minds and all the greatest thinkers and all the people with reason and logos and justice and all the great people, they're all behind Ammon Hillman, aren't they? Aren't they? Hillman told a student he would be watching her. She literally ran away. Suddenly, I was alive. This is a quote. She literally ran away. Suddenly, I was alive. In her deposition, Myers conceded that Hillman's conduct was stalking, both under St. Mary's sexual harassment policy and under any classic definition of stalking. Oh, it was just St. Mary's. They're a Catholic school. They just didn't understand them. Under any classic definition of stalking. Hillman asked one of his male students, "You like to feel the feel of a lady's silky negligee? Would you prefer a garter or a choker?" Hillman told the student that she's the rabbit. She is next. It's time to feed. That he ran into the rabbit and was transferred. He's the wolf and she's the rabbit, he said. That's what this means. He said that he said that he made SL sing for him. But he says he should not have done that because she reached inside him and took a little piece of his soul, the voice. All right. I just wanted to give an
just some reading from Neil there. People, you really should check out the full deposition, is that called? I think it's really important. You should know. I mean, one, it's interesting, crazy interesting stuff. Ammon is a very fascinating figure, but also I think you should know that about that. One, because Ammon lied about that. I mean, that is a huge problem. That if he's not being honest with that, then what's to say he's being honest with anything else? You really don't know if he's being honest. You can't simply just trust him. I think that there have been numerous examples from a scholarship perspective where he'll just say something and it seems just completely made up. He might believe it on some kind of odd, twisted level, but at the same time, some things are just clearly false that seem to me purposely misleading, if not purposely, accidentally. Maybe he believes it, but maybe he's just, tricked. Bias can play tricks on us. We're not robots that are logical robots. So, in other words, that's just something to pay attention to. Okay, so what else do we have here? Yes, this is another problem, is that Ammon ignored me about Atria. I've heard this a ton of times, that Ammon when any kind of criticism at all. Yes, so he ignored about Atria earlier, but with other problems with the group, he's ignored. I've heard a lot of people say that. He doesn't address problems like actual critique. So when people critique him, he never. I've never seen, and I've seen in several responses of his, where he will watch a video of somebody critiquing him, but he'll just completely take them out of context, or will just nitpick the smallest possible thing and not address the actual argument. So, sometimes he responds to people that actually don't know what they're talking about. But, he's never talked with Neil in any kind of debate format, even though he was friends with him. Like, that's kind of crazy. He doesn't, he hasn't talked to Steven, although Steven obviously knows some stuff. He talked to Luke Gordon, but there was obviously some gain that he got out of that, but he won't talk to him again. Let's see. Ali has tried to debate him, even though he will talk bad about Ali. So he has no problem talking bad about people, but when he actually comes to the possibility that he might get embarrassed, he coincidentally doesn't want to do that. Let's see here. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything else in the comments, but before we get going. Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing, is people at the spiritual level of being, people will comment on his videos, and they'll either get blocked, you'll get ignored, or but yeah, he doesn't really respond to criticism. Not only that, but he also he basically kicked Neil out of everything. Pretty much when Neil said that, very clearly, that he didn't like that Ammon's views about the Greek being written first, the Greek Septuagint, and that the Hebrew is actually translated from the Greek, like a scholarly discussion. Now, the scholars wouldn't accept that view at all. He's the only one on the planet with a PhD that would accept that. But at the same time, it's something that shouldn't be a personal issue. Now, Neil might have said some mean things. I wasn't there. He might have said some words he shouldn't have said. But I mean, realistically, to kick out somebody that had been friends with you, that he was taking Greek classes with you, and now, I mean, publicly, Ammon just shames Neil like crazy, and says lies about him. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, honestly. It's sad to see. Yes. So I'm not saying that you should believe everything I say. That's okay if you don't. Put your comments in the comment section if you want to know more about my opinion. Check out my other videos. I just want this to be a helpful opportunity for people to learn more about the group and risk not being harmed. So you don't want you to get in that situation where you are harmed. Now, everybody might not be like this, and that's okay. That's cool. I don't think everybody is like this, but we got to be extra careful. We do not want to put ourselves in harm unnecessarily. And if somebody tells you to do something that you don't want to do, even if there's a lot of pressure, it's really difficult to say no. But you don't want to give up your happiness just to supposedly get other people's approval, because it almost never works out in the end. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you next time.